在今日嚟述上，約翰福音裏面7個神蹟中間第2個神蹟。
Today, this morning, we'll be talking about the 7 miracles of the Gospel of John, the second miracle.
這個神蹟叫做一句話嘅神蹟。
This miracle is referred to as a one-word miracle.
經本是約翰福音第4章46到54節。
And the passage is found in John chapter 4, verses 46 to 54.
咱將上帝話嚟讀一遍。
Let's read God's word once.
時間嘅關係，咱只讀英文。漢文嘅紙筆，請你看你嘅聖經，還是看這個 screen 嘅漢文嘅聖經。
Once more he visited Cana in Galilee, where he had turned the water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick at Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son, who was close to death. Unless you people see signs and wonders, Jesus told him, you will never believe. The royal official said, Sir, come down before my child dies. Go, Jesus replied, your son will live. While he was still on the way, his servants met him with the news that his boy was living. When he inquired as to the time when his son got better, they said to him, yesterday at 1 in the afternoon, the fever left him. Then the father realized that this was the exact time at which Jesus had said to him, your son will live. So he and his whole household believed.
咱已經述上了頭一個神蹟最變最少。
We have already talked about the first miracle, and that is turning water into wine.
今日咱嚟述上第2個神蹟。
And today, let's talk about the second miracle.
這個神蹟我以這個名叫做一句話嘅神蹟。
And I give this miracle a name, saying that this is a one-word miracle.
因為耶穌喺這個神蹟中間只講了一句話。
Because in this miracle, Jesus only spoke one word.
耶穌及這個 royal official 講：倒去，你驚活咯。
Jesus said to the royal official, go, your son will live.
結果伊驚就活咯。
And as a result, his son lived.
因為一句話，伊驚就好起來咯。
And because of one word, his son recovered.
喺這個神蹟嘅裡面，
And in this miracle,
咱漸漸發現無相關嘅信心。
we clearly see different kinds of faith.
咱看這個 royal official 嘅信心就慢慢改變。
We see how the royal official's faith slowly changed.
這三款嘅信心就是危機嘅信心、確實嘅信心及傳揚嘅信心。
And these 3 kinds of faith are crisis faith, true faith, and propagating faith.
咱嘅信心應該有進步。
And our faith needs to see progress.
咱嚟接到佢哋嘅成立，看這個 royal official 嘅信心，學習之後增加咱嘅信心。
And through the miracle today and seeing the faith of the royal official, let's see how our faith can progress.
咱嚟真係看這個 crisis faith 危機中嘅信心。
Let us first take a look at crisis faith,
46到50節，
verses 46 to 50.
咱個讀一遍，
Let's read this
一
once
遍咱
again.
只讀漢文。
Read this.
耶穌到了加利利嘅迦拿，就是以從前最變咗少嘅所在。有一個大神醫家喺迦百農破壁，伊睇到耶穌對猶大到了加利利，伊來看耶穌，叫耶穌落去醫治伊家，因為伊家特別死咯。耶穌特別講：若無看到神蹟奇事，恁總是未相信。這個大神講：先生啊，叫你睇我嘅家仍然未死整就落去。耶穌特別講：倒去，你家活咯。這個人先呀所講嘅話就倒去咯。即係有一個大神，
There is a royal official here,
伊家喺迦百農破壁，
and his son lay sick in Capernaum.
是非常嘅嚴重嘅破壁，
And it was extremely serious sickness.
特別死咯。
He was about to die.
但你注意，這個大神唔是普通嘅官員，
But take note that this was no ordinary official.
佢是 royal official。
He was a royal official.
這個人同王族有關係，
And this person was related to the royalty.
伊嘅 position，伊嘅地位非常嘅高，
His position was very high.
伊嘅身份真在高。
And his social status was also very high.
現在伊家破壁，
Now that his son lay sick,
你can imagine，
now you can imagine
伊
this.
即刻用到真濟嘅錢。
This person must have spent a lot of money
請也最第好嘅醫生，
and sought a lot of very good doctors
食到真最第好第貴嘅藥，
and taken a lot of very good and very expensive
但係真
medicines.
可惜，
But it was such a pity
完全無路應。
that they were completely
伊
useless
家是哪來哪嚴重，
because his son's condition turned from bad to worse.
特別死咯。
And he was about to die.
明顯這個大神是哪來哪失望。
It is very evident that this royal official must have been losing his
忽
hope.
然間喺這個時陣，
All of a sudden,
伊聽到耶穌嘅故事，
he heard about the story of Jesus.
相信伊特別聽到耶穌喺加利利所行嘅成力。
And I believe that he heard about the miracle that Jesus performed in Galilee.
耶穌之後將水變做酒，
How Jesus turned the water into wine.
喺這個老爸絕望嘅中間，
And in the midst of the hopelessness of this father,
天就忽然間看到一淡嘅盼望。
it is as if that he sees a glimmer of hope.
伊對加百隆走去加拿去找耶
And
穌。
he traveled from Capernaum to Cana to see Jesus.
從這個加百隆到這個加拿有30里路，
From Capernaum to Galilee, it was like a 30-kilometer distance.
講真遠唔是真遠，
It isn't that far.
講真短唔是真短。
It isn't that near either.
2000 years ago，
2,000 years ago,
那路是真歹行嘅路，
the roads are very difficult to travel
所
on.
以30里路也是唔是容易行嘅
So
路。
30 kilometers wasn't an easy path to travel.
但是這個家庭有一個危機，有一個
But there
crisis。
is a crisis in this family.
這個老爸所聽嘅囝破病，
A father had a son, a beloved son, who is sick.
這個囝都要離開世界。
And this boy was about to die.
這個危機，
This crisis
和這個老爸產生淡薄嘅信心，
allowed this father to produce a little bit of faith.
伊決定去找耶穌。
And as a result, he decided to see
耶
Jesus.
穌親像這個人嘅唯一嘅盼望。
And Jesus was as if he was the only hope of this person.
但係嚟到耶穌頭前嘅時陣，
And when he came before
伊將
Jesus,
要需要及耶穌講，
he told Jesus about his need.
但係實在想未到。
But quite unexpectedly,
耶穌唔是講 OK，let's go，let's go。
Jesus didn't just say that, okay, let's go.
No 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 no。
No.
耶穌講，若無看到神力，你總是無必相信。
Jesus replied saying, unless you people see miraculous signs and miracles, you will never believe.
這句話真明顯有責備意思喺裏面。
Very evidently, there is an element of rebuke in this word.
你想看咩？
Think about this.
嗱，可能變為這個有權有勢人嚟請咱。
If there is a powerful, authoritative person here in the Philippines who come to see us,
牧師話：請你去我出來推我見哪幾多
Pastor, can you come to my home to pray for my child?
？Wow, this is a golden opportunity。
I would say this is a golden opportunity.
我跟你講啊，
Let me tell
這
you,
個人啊，
this kind of a person,
唔是對到大志，永遠未嚟請咱。
unless he has a problem that needs our help, they will never come and see us.
你去請伊，
And if you were to go to see
你
him,
敲門，
you knock on his
伊
door,
是唔插你。
he will ignore you.
現在這個機會嚟咯，
Now here's an opportunity that
你
has
本
come.
身嚟請耶穌。
He himself has come to see Jesus.
嗱，我是耶穌嘅門徒，
And if I were one of the disciples of
我
Jesus,
就及耶穌講：
I would tell Jesus,
耶穌啊，
Jesus,
咱囊中都是獵奇人啊！
we are all fishermen here.
現在這個有權有勢人嚟請你啊，
Now that this person who has the authority and the power has come to see you,
你這個都需要去啊！
you surely have to go.
你若咁樣傳福音了，
And after you share the gospel
你
to
有一
him,
信主了，
and if you bring him to the
哇！
Lord,
對咱嘅傳道嘅工作是真大幫助。
that would be of great help to our ministry.
這個叫 big fish，
This is a big fish.
你若冇掠起來，
And if you don't fish the big
哎呀，
fish,
啥樣啊
it？would be such a pity, such
耶
a
穌講
waste.
什麼？
And what did Jesus say?
冇必去，
Jesus said, no, I'm
你
not
家
going.
己去。
You go yourself.
你講耶穌最近教咱常常真無神嘅態度。
Now you see that when Jesus works, he works with a very different attitude than we do.
為什麼耶穌安尼唱？
Why did Jesus do this?
因為耶穌愛這個 royal official，這個老闆明白咱行真正重要嘅代志。
Because Jesus wanted this royal official, this father, to understand two very important things.
Number one.
Number one,
而家這個人明白你是相信神力，還是相信上帝
are you believing in the miracles or are you putting your trust in God?
？Number two，
Number two,
你是相信神力，還是相信神嘅話？
are you believing in the miracles or in God's word?
這個對咱嘅信心嘅進步是真正重要。
This is very important to the progress of our faith.
你是相信神力，還是相信上帝？
Do you believe in the miracles or do you believe in God?
當這個人面對 crisis 嘅時陣，
When a person is faced with a crisis,
你若找耶穌，
when it comes to see
你
Jesus,
當然是真正好嘅代
of
志。
course, this is something that's very good.
人嘅出路是上帝嘅開路。
Because when a person is at his dead end, that is when the opportunity for God to work is.
但係耶穌愛這個人明白這樣真正重要嘅代志。
But Jesus wanted this person to understand something very important.
你是相信我，還是相信我所見嘅成績？
Do you actually believe in me, or do you believe in the miracles
你
that I
是相
perform?
信我，還是相信我吹講嘅話？
And are you believing in me or in the words from my mouth?
當咱破病嘅時陣，
When we are sick,
咱去祈禱，
we pray,
上帝啊，叫你醫治我。
God, please heal me.
你就好我好起來，
And if you allow me to recover,
我就信你。
I will believe in you.
意思是講，上帝若無要醫好你，
Meaning to say, if God doesn't heal you,
我就無要相信你。
then I would not believe in you.
這個嘅信心是建立喺聖靈嘅裡面，
This kind of faith is built upon miracles.
唔是建立喺上帝本身嘅裡
It
面。
is not built upon God himself.
聖經講一句話：
And the Bible tells us this.
醫治有時間，無醫治也有時
There
間。
is a time to heal and a time not to heal.
上帝醫治真罪人，
God heals a lot of people.
上帝無醫治真罪人。
But God also does not heal a lot of
我
people.
唔知呀，
We do
為
not
什麼
know
上帝醫治這個，上帝無醫治這個？
why God heals this person, but he doesn't heal another
但是
person.
by faith，咱相信
Yet by faith we believe.
上帝醫治總有上帝特別嘅原因。
God has a very special purpose when he heals.
上帝若無醫治，國家有上帝國家特別嘅原
And
因。
even when God does not heal, he also has a very special purpose.
是舊約有一個王叫做希西家，
In the Old Testament, there was a king by the name of
佢
Hezekiah.
真聽主，
He loved the Lord very much.
忽然間到咗一個嚴重嘅破
But
病，
suddenly he was stricken with a very serious
上
illness.
帝甲伊講：
And God told him,
你必辦後事，
you've got to make preparations.
你的確死。
You will surely die.
伊喊啊喊喊未停，
And he cried before the Lord.
叫上帝，
And he asked
上
mercy
帝啊，
from
你
God.
紀念我就聽你啊
And！he asked God, saying that, God, please remember
Cho-
how much I
cho-
love you,
hậu
how much good works I have done.
上帝講好啦好啦好啦好啦，
And God said, that's enough.
記好你10個年啦，
Okay, I'll give you 15 more years.
是好是歹？
Was it good or bad?
你看聖經，
Take a look at the
呢
Bible.
10個年裡面。
Within those 15
唔
years,
不記載希西家做到什麼大事，好上帝紀念，好上帝歡喜
there。was no record in the scripture wherein within these 15 years Hezekiah did anything that really
Please God.
brought pleasure to God.
這10個年是 empty time of 希西家，
These 15 years were empty times of
唔
Hezekiah.
那是安尼。
Not only was
這
it
10個
so,
年裡面，
within those 15 years,
伊是到一個囝，
he had a son
叫做馬拿西。
by the name of Manasseh.
馬拿西是舊約裡面猶太人中間、猶太王嘅中間第一派嘅一個王。
And among all the Jewish kings, Manasseh was the most wicked of them all.
你若無活10個年，
And if he had not lived for another 15 years,
這個囝都未出世。
then he wouldn't have given birth to this son.
伊若這個囝若無出世，
And if the son wasn't born,
猶太國就無限暫滅亡。
then the nation of Israel wouldn't have perished that early.
叫做幫襯咱
May God help us.
學習相信上帝嘅時間。
Let us learn to put our trust, our faith in God's time.
伊若叫我去，
And if he tells me to go,
我就去；
then I'll go.
叫我留，
If he tells me to stay,
我就留。
then I'll stay.
唔是上帝醫好我，我就相信。
It's not that whenever God heals me, that's when I believe in
你
him.
若 based on miracles，
If you base your faith on
你
miracles,
嘅上帝唔是耶和華上帝，
then your God is not the Lord God.
你嘅上帝是這隻，
Your God is this one.
是阿拉丁裡面迄隻。
It's the genie inside the
The
lamp of
genie.
Aladdin.
伊出來嘅時陣，
When he comes out,
伊問你 Master，
he'll ask you, Master,
有什麼吩咐我
do you have any request?
？Master，
Master,
I give you 3 wishes，
give you 3 wishes.
你愛到一個啊？
Which one do you like?
但是咱嘅上帝唔是這個，
But our God is not this one.
咱嘅上帝是多相反。
Our God is the opposite.
咱就甲伊講
We tell him, we've got to tell him,
，Master，I
Master,
am here，I'm
I'm here
listening。
and I'm listening.
叫主幫襯咱。
May God help us.
耶穌愛這個 royal official，
Jesus wanted this royal
明白
official
頭這項代志
to，understand the first thing.
你是信我，
Are you putting your
還
trust
是
in
信
me
我所嘅成力？
or in the miracles that I
Daddy.
perform? Second,
你是信我嘅成力，還是信我吹所講嘅話？
do you believe in the miracles or in God's word?
你若無看到成力，總是未相信。
If you do not see miracles, you will never believe.
到期，你係驚好咯。
Go home, your son will live.
聖經講，這個人信 耶穌話就到去，
And the Bible tells us the man took Jesus at his word and he went home.
真有意思，真有意思。
Very meaningful.
我 explain 我哋仔啊，
Let me explain.
中國人這個信啊，
The Chinese character for
信
believe
是人嘅聯合起來，
is a combination of two characters.
這邊是一個人，
And on one side, it is a
這
man.
邊是人嘅話，
And on the other side is the word of man.
所以中國人有一句話
So the Chinese was saying,
叫做引言為信。
and the meaning of this is the words of a person is his credibility or guarantee.
咱嘅話就是咱嘅信用，
Our words reflects our credibility.
你講什麼，
Whatever you say
應該就是最什麼。
should be whatever you do.
信用
That's
是
credibility.
咱第二條嘅生命。
That's our second life.
這個人就對人就無信用，
And if a person doesn't have credibility in the sight of man,
這個人到這個時間的確無人相信。
then there will surely come a point in time wherein no one will believe him.
這個人真艱苦有任何嘅成就。
Then this person will have a lot of difficulty achieving any
最近我看
success.
到一間冊，
Recently, I'm reading a book,
叫做李嘉誠傳。
and that is the biography of Li Ka-shing.
李嘉誠是香港第好一個人，
He's the wealthiest person in Hong Kong,
李嘉誠是東南亞第好一個人。
and Li Ka-shing is also the wealthiest person in Southeast Asia.
所以我看嘛，這個人真係很好嘢。
And I read that book to see why this person became so wealthy.
這個人喺香港開始嘅時陣，
When this person started out in Hong
伊
Kong,
係成立最 plastic 塑膠嘅
he
工
was
作
in，the plastics business.
伊最塑膠開始，
He started out in the plastics
所以
business,
開始嘅人叫做塑膠大王。
and he was referred to as the plastic king.
伊開始第一成功投資嘅印度嘅生意是最主要係塑膠灰。
And the first very successful business that he ventured into was the plastic flowers,
這款
just like these ones
天
here.
朝齋其實是假。
They look like very real, but actually they're not.
喺1960、70、80年代，
In the 1960s, 70s, and 80s,
香港差不多隆重嘅出來，灰嘅就是安尼 flower。
in the homes in Hong Kong, you'll see all these kind of flowers.
因為變道啊，唔免噏水啊，唔免拍太陽啊，
Because
啊
people
未死
were
吧？
lazy, they don't want to water the plants, they don't need to have sunshine for the plants, they don't die.
李嘉誠亦追到啊，多攤子，
And Li Ka-shing earned a lot of money doing this
唔
business.
係是貴香港嘅市場
Not only the whole Hong Kong market,
，export 去全世界。
he exported all over the world.
咱咪有一個故事，
And there is a story.
迄時陣李嘉誠未很出名嘅時陣，
During that time, Li Ka-shing wasn't very famous
美
yet.
國有一個真大嘅公司嚟香港，埃及李嘉誠簽約最成立。
There was a very big American company that came to Hong Kong and wanted to sign a contract with Li Ka-shing.
但講好些以後
And after they have agreed on the
，before
details,
簽約嘅時陣，
before they signed the contract,
美國公司有一個要求，
the American company had a request.
李嘉誠需要找一個叫做擔保人嘅人做，
Li Ka-shing needed to find a guarantor.
這個完全冇奇怪。
And there's nothing really strange
我唔
about
知
that.
你記得1980年代，
And I don't know whether you remember, but in the 1980s,
你若要請一個 credit card，
if you were to apply for a credit card,
你簽名請人做你嘅人做，
you need to find somebody to be your guarantor.
冇人同你簽名，有人袂好你。
And if nobody guarantees on your behalf, the bank will not approve your credit
現
application.
在是都強強不都好你，
But these days it's different. They force you to take
頂擺
your
唔是，
credit cards,
頂擺
but
唔
it
是。
used to be wasn't like that
你若冇
before.
個人都冇人好你。
If you don't have a guarantor, no one will give you a credit card.
李嘉誠去找，
Li Ka-shing went and looked for a guarantor,
找無波嘅，
but he couldn't find anyone
因為迄陣我人無錢人不識嘅李嘉誠。
because during that time, not many people knew Li Ka-shing.
當伊人來嘅，當美國人來嘅時
So
陣，
when the Americans came,
李嘉誠將囊中嘅伊嘅工廠囊中物件，可以跨一個展覽啫。
so Li Ka-shing made a presentation of his factory and his products.
你有繼續講話，
And afterwards, he spoke with them.
你講對不住 ，I'm sorry to inform
He
you，
says, I'm sorry to inform you,
我冇找到任何一個人係加入我做擔保人。
I wasn't able to find anyone who was willing to be my guarantor.
勝利嗰人最未成功，
Perhaps we will not be able to push through with this
但唔要
business,
緊，唔要緊，
but that's okay.
咱係大家做朋友，
We can still be friends.
你想未夠。
But quite
這句
unexpectedly,
美國人講一句話。
this American said,
官已經為你找到一個擔保人，
we have already found a guarantor for you.
都唔捌聽到呢個話啊！
Well, you never heard people say
你
this.
講神啊，
And he asked, who?
就是你家己嘅信用。
And he said, your own credibility, they said.
當君未來嘅前，
Before we came,
君調查你，
we did a background check on you.
君發現這樣代志，
And we discovered
你
something.
這個人真有信用，
That you are a person with great
你
credibility.
嘅信用就是你家己本身嘅擔保人。
Your credibility is your own
君
guarantor.
及你簽約，
Now we are going to sign a contract
李
with
嘉
you.
誠嘅勝利就完全起來咯。
And as a result, Li Ka-shing's business skyrocketed from there on.
你本身嘅信用是何等嘅重要，
Your own credibility is extremely important
人言為信。
because the words of a person is his own credibility.
上帝嘅話咧，
What about God's word?
神嘅話確確同相信。
God's word is even more credible.
主耶穌愛這個 royal official，
The Lord Jesus wanted this royal official.
對相信成立，變做相信加成立嘅上帝。
He wants to transform his faith from believing in the miracles to believing in the God who performs
對
miracles.
相信加成立嘅主，變做相信加成立主所講嘅每一句話。
And then to be transformed from believing in the God who performs miracles to believing in the every word that comes from the mouth of God.
所以耶穌講：你倒去，
So Jesus said, you go home.
你教好咯。
Your son will leave.
你若相信，
And if he
你
believed,
若倒去，
if he went home,
你教就好咯。
then his son will leave.
兄弟姊妹，
Brothers and
你
sisters,
特別講先主先主，
we always say we believe in the Lord, believe
Chairman.
in the Lord. Let me ask you,
你對主是羅相信？
how much do you believe in the Lord?
請問
Let me ask
你
you,
對主嘅話是羅相信？
how much do you believe in God's word?
你嘅信心
Your faith
永遠跟你哋上帝話嘅裏面。
will forever be based or built upon God's word.
這個信心是對這個 crisis 這個危機開始，
This faith begins from a crisis,
但這個信心進去另外一個信心嘅裏
but
面，
this faith enters into another type of faith.
變成一個實實在在嘅 true faith。
It becomes a true faith.
你講59、53節，
Look at verses 50 to 53.
耶穌對佢講：倒去，你嘅教劃咯。這個人先耶穌所講嘅話就倒去，到啊落去嘅時候，你嘅僕人及你撒都及你講：你嘅教好咯。你就問什麼時好嘅啊？你講炸你未死嘅時候，你嘅燒就退咯。你就知呀，都是耶穌佢講話，你嘅教好畫嘅時陣，以家己及全家攏信咯。這是信心及行動嘅關係。
This is the relationship between faith and action.
這個人聽耶穌嘅話就倒去咯。
This person listened and obeyed the word of Jesus, and he went home.
後來喺路中及呢個僕人撒都，
And halfway along the road, he met his servants.
呢個僕人講：你家好咯。
And his servants told him that your son is well.
你講什麼時好嘅？
And he asked him, when did he get well?
差你7點嘅時陣，
He says, yesterday at 7 o'clock.
耶穌就呀，這個人就呀，這個信就是耶穌同我講你家好嘅時陣。
And then the man realized that it was exactly the same time when Jesus told him that your son will leave.
這個 royal official 及呢個僕人這個講話，這個 conversation 係中間。
And in the conversation between the royal official and his servant,
嗱，可能這樣大字。
we discovered something.
當這個人離開耶穌嘅時陣，
When this person departed from Jesus,
佢唔知呀，
he did not know.
還是講佢冇 confirm，
Or perhaps he
冇肯定。
he didn't confirm, or he wasn't certain.
呀，這個佢家是好還是冇好咧？
He wasn't certain whether his son will indeed leave
佢
or
就
not.
是憑着一句話嘅信心倒去。
He only relied on the one word of Jesus when he left.
現在佢發現這樣大字，
And now he discovered something,
就是呢個時間，
that it was exactly that same
我家
time
竟然就好咯。
that my son got well.
哎呀，我就發現這個 the formula of faith 信心嘅程式喺裏面。
And here I discover a formula of faith.
什麼是實在嘅信心？確實嘅信心。
What is true faith? What is genuine faith?
信上帝回顧嘅信心，加照行動嘅信心
That is faith in God's word plus faith in action
，equal to 確實嘅信心。
and equals to true faith.
人看都唔最欠。
And there is not one that can be missing.
頭先你需要一個信靠上帝回顧嘅信心。
First, you've got to have a faith that trusts in God's word.
什麼係信靠上帝嘅信心？
What does it mean to have faith in God's word?
因為信心的確需要一個對象。
Because there must be an object of your faith.
你若無信，你若信嘅物件若無對象，這是迷信。 superstition。
If you do not have an object of your faith is only but superstitions.
你若有一個對象，
But if you have an
你
object
若對這個對象羅相信、羅接受，
and how much you believe, you trust, you accept this object of your faith,
你嘅信心就越來越大。
that will determine whether your faith is going to grow bigger and bigger.
即係有兩地意，
I have 2 chairs here.
我跟你講一項代志。
Let me tell you something.
我講，這兩地意有通坐無相款嘅人，
I tell you that these 2 types of chairs can sit 2 different kinds of
這
people.
地有通，你若這個人是300磅都冇要緊，
If a person is 300 pounds, then he can sit on this chair and
你坐
no
落去。
problem. And when he sits
加一
down,
加一呢。
it will carry him.
這地
And this other one,
第最100磅，
at the most, it can carry 100 pounds.
冇定100磅
If more than 100 pounds,
冇法。
it cannot carry the person.
我160磅，
I am 160
我
pounds.
聽到伊安尼講嘅時陣，
And when he heard this person
我
say
只有
this,
一個選擇，
I only have a choice.
我得個坐這地，
I will surely sit on
我
this
唔會坐這
chair.
地，
I will not sit on this
因
one
為我相信你嘅話。
because he believed in me.
我若坐落去，
When I sit on this chair,
我就塞你頭殼裏面。
because I'll fall to the ground.
等我選一地嘅時陣，
When I choose this other one,
我坐落去，
I sit on the chair
小梅夠。
very unexpectedly.
這個生意人真問題派啊！
This businessman is very bad,
什麼300磅、30磅都唔
saying
掉咯。
300 pounds, but it cannot even carry 30 pounds.
等我坐落去，
And as a result, when I sat down,
脖子卡，
I broke my bones
因為我信唔着啊，
because I put my trust
我
in the
信
wrong
唔着
person.
對象啊。
I put my faith in the wrong object.
兄弟姊妹，
Brothers and
你信
sisters,
上帝？
you believe in God.
請問
Let me ask
你
you,
信倒這個上帝？
which God do you believe in?
倒這個上帝是實在嘅上帝，
Which God is the one true God?
倒這個上帝嘅話是實在嘅話，
Which God has the true words?
唔通互人騙去，
Do not allow yourselves
唔
to
通
be
我把你
deceived.
神騙去。
Do not allow yourselves to be deceived by other
There is
gods.
only one true God。
Because there is only one true God.
咱嚟講人言為信，
If we say that the words of a man is his own credibility,
咱就信上帝。
how do we believe in God?
神言為信，
Because God's word is trustworthy.
上帝話通可靠無？
God's word is trustworthy.
詩篇119篇89節，
Psalm 119 verse 89.
耶和華你嘅話安定佇天佇到永遠。
Your word, O Lord, is eternal. It stands firm in
上
the
帝
heavens.
嘅話
God's word
是永遠未改變。
will never change.
Eternal, it stand firm in the heaven。
It stands firm in the heavens for
咱就
eternity.
信上帝吹來所講嘅話。
We've got to believe in the words that come from the mouth of God.
好，我做一個簡單嘅見證。
Allow me to share a simple testimony.
23年前，
23 years
當
ago,
我一個人嚟菲律賓嘅時陣，
when I came alone to the Philippines,
今日我很大膽，
why was I so bold to come?
完全唔捌這個所在，
I didn't know the place.
唔捌這個環境，
I didn't know the
唔捌這
environment.
個這個 culture 這個
I
文
didn't
化，
know the culture.
冇親人冇朋友喺
I
這個所
didn't have
在。
any friends or relatives in
為
this
什麼我嚟
place.
這個所
Why
在？
did I come to this
呢
place?
是這個22歲見啊，
I was just a 22-year-old
因為我
young
相
boy
信這項大事。
because I believed in something.
當我靈修嘅時陣，
When I was having my devotion,
耶利米書第1章第8節，上到這一句話同我講了，這個真正重要嘅話。
God used this passage, Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 8, to speak to me.
你唔免驚因，
Do not be afraid of
所以
them.
我唔會驚你，
That is why I'm not afraid of you.
因為我及你同在，
For I am with
我
you
要拯救你。
and will rescue
這是
you.
耶和華講。
This is what the Lord declares.
這句話是23年前上帝跟我講嘅話，
And these were the words that God spoke to me 23 years
因為
ago.
這句話
And because of this word,
我到這個所在。
I came to this place.
上帝話唔是只是23年嘅時間，
And God's word does not only last for 23
上
years.
帝話是 last for eternal, forever and ever。
God's word lasts for eternity.
叫上帝祝福人，
May God bless us
我人深深相信上帝嘅話。
so that we may firmly believe in
什麼是
God's
確實
word.
嘅信心
What is a true faith?
？Number one，
Number one,
信過上帝嘅話
it is believing in God's word
，plus
plus
行動嘅信心。
faith in action.
信上帝嘅話只不過是頭一步，
believing in God's word is only but the first step.
但是信心的確需要一個行動。
But there ought to be action that go along with it.
那冇行動嘅信心是假
A
嘅，
faith without action is not true faith at
所以
all.
中國人有一句話，
So that is why the Chinese have a
叫做
saying,
紙上談兵，
and this means empty talk.
講嚟講去，喺做裏面講真最大事。
Well, you talk about a lot of things, you do a lot of discussion
即
only
今時咱嘅問
on
題，
paper. Isn't this our problem?
咱天教講話，
We are very good
講
at
下一大
talking.
堆
We talk about a lot,
，do something，
but we've got to do something.
教會 do something，
Church, do something.
叫上帝幫助咱。
May God help us.
真正嘅信心裏面的確有行動喺裏面。
True faith must contain action.
上帝嘅Abraham講：
God said to Abraham,
離開你嘅本地本族別嘅
leave your father's household, your own people, your own land.
，Abraham 就出去，
And so Abraham left.
這是行動。
This was
上帝嘅
action.
Abraham 講：
God said to
係
Abraham,
你嘅艾撒。
and offer your son Isaac.
先講什麼
And what did the word
？Early
of
in
God
the
says?
next morning, Abraham 就起來，
Early the next morning, Abraham arose.
創啥
What did he do?
行動。
And he action.
上帝嘅 Moses 講：
God said to Moses,
將你 stuff 夾起來，
raise your staff,
或者硬係再搬佢。
and so that the waters of the Red Sea will
Kaya
split in
Loki.
half, so that you can cross over on dry land.
Moses 就夾起這個 stuff，
And Moses raised the staff,
呢度夾落去。
and they went through the Red Sea on dry land.
每一個信心行動裏面都有淡薄冒險嘅 risk 嘅成分喺裏面。
Every action of faith goes with, there is a certain amount of risk that goes with every action of faith.
你若冇這個呢危險，冇這個呢這個危機，這個 risk，take the risk，這個唔是信心嘅行動。
If you don't take the risk, that is not faith in action.
但是你唔免驚，
But you need not be afraid.
耶穌同馬大講：
Jesus said to Martha,
你若信，的確看到上帝榮耀。
He said, did I tell you that if you believe, you would see the glory of God?
為什麼呢
Why?
？John chapter 14:21，
John chapter 14:21.
耶穌伊講一句話。
Jesus said,
有了我的命令，我會遵守。這個人就是聽我的教蒙我的爸所聽，我也的確聽伊，並且這個人來顯現。
Whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. The one who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love them and show myself to them.
有了我的命令，我遵守這個行動。
We're having my commands and obeys them,
你
this is
若
action.
遵守我的命令，
And if you obey my commands,
耶穌講這個人是說我聽的，
Jesus says that this is a person whom I love.
唔那是我聽，
Not only do I love him,
我天父聽的，
my Father loves him.
唔那是
as
天
well.
父聽伊，
Not only does the Father love him,
我老爸這個人來顯現，
and my Father will show himself to him,
讓這個人看到上帝榮耀，
so that he may see the glory of God.
叫做幫襯人。
May God help us.
信心嘅行動有通看到上帝榮耀。
Faith in action is able to see God's glory.
It's well with my soul。
It is well with my soul.
這是一個人嘅Spafford所寫嘅歌。
This was a hymn written by a man named Spafford.
Spafford 係一個 lawyer，一個律師。
Spafford was a lawyer.
佢哋美國芝加哥這個所在，
He in Chicago in the U.S.
佢真對大志真無謂。
and he was a very busy man.
有一擺愛創一個 vacation 嘅時間，
One time he wanted to have a vacation.
伊甲伊嘅四個查某囝，一個太太，甲伊六個人要坐 cruise from 美國去到英國。
And one time they were about to go on a vacation on a cruise ship, traveling from the U.S. to England together with his wife and 4 daughters.
但是忽然間發生真重要緊急嘅代志，
But then suddenly there was something that an emergency came up.
伊叫伊嘅牽手甲四個查某囝帶先去，
And he told his wife and 4 daughters to go ahead of him.
伊家己結接落去，
And then he was about to follow them.
忽然間
But then
收到一個消息，
suddenly he received the news.
伊嘅船佇大海中間沉落
The
去，
ship sank in the ocean.
伊唔知影什麼結果，
He didn't know what the result was.
但係隔一日
But after a day,
收到一個 telegram，
he received a telegram.
因為頂擺是用 telegram 嚟講話，
Because in the past, they communicate with telegrams.
只有兩個字
There were only 2 words,
，save alone，
saved alone.
伊嘅牽手嘅 telegram，
The wife's telegram.
四個查某囝死去
All 4 daughters had drowned and
，save
died.
alone。
And she was saved alone.
伊家己活起來。
she was saved alone.
這個老爸聽到這個消息，
When the father heard this news,
當然是非常非常嘅艱苦事。
of course, it was extremely painful for
四
him.
個查某囝生死死了
All
了，
4 daughters died at the same time.
伊隨這陣去到美國嘅所在
Immediately
，on the way 去美國。
Boarded the
去英
ship
國，去
and went
England.
to England.
當這個陣經過這個伊個電啊，伊個陣掂落去嘅所在嘅時陣，
And when the ship passed by the place, the location where the ship had sunk and his children had died,
當然伊更加艱苦事。
and of course it was even more painful for
伊
him to
講呢
bear.
個時陣，
And he said it was during that moment
聖靈喺你心裏面感動伊
that，the Holy Spirit moved in his heart.
伊就寫咗起第一句
And then he wrote that song.
：It is well with my soul.
It is well with my soul.
It's well with my soul。這個故事未了吧？
Now the story does not end there.
我經過幾年以後，
After a few years,
伊個死了兩個查某囝，
they had 2 more daughters.
喺1881年，
And in 1881,
伊歸嘅 from Chicago 移民去以色列 Holy Land 嘅所在。
the whole family migrated from Chicago to the Holy Land to Israel.
伊哋以色列創咗一個 center，
In Israel, they started a center
照顧兩種雙向嘅人及破病嘅人。
to take care of all the poor and the sick.
嗰一年以後，
And after another year,
創咗一間醫館，
they started a
叫
hospital
做 Spafford Children Hospital。
called the Spafford Children Hospital.
一生及呢兩個囡仔及呢個近照喺以色列事奉上。
And all their lives, together with the wife and 2 children, they served the Lord in Israel.
這個就係確實嘅信心，
This is what true faith is.
重新站起來。
Being able to stand up again.
有陣都係真最困難、真最患難。
Sometimes you may meet a lot of difficulties, a lot of
有
problems.
人倒落去就是永遠倒落去，
And there are some people, when they fall, they just stay fallen.
但是
But
你若信上帝嘅話，
if you put your trust in God's
你
word,
若有 faith in action 站起來，
if you have faith in action and you arise again,
你得個看到上帝嘅榮耀。
then you will surely see the glory of God.
第三
Third,
叫做傳揚嘅信心。
propagating faith.
53節，
Verse 53.
伊就知影，這都耶穌及你講，你驚滑落嘅時陣，伊家己及盡嘅良善咯。
Then the father realized that this was the exact time at which Jesus had said to him, "Your son will live." So he and his whole household believed.
伊家己及盡嘅良善咯，
So he and his whole hhousehold believed.
兩款嘅信心，
Two kinds of faith.
即係道神家己信，
His the faith of the royal official
即係
himself
道神貴嘅信，
and his whole family believed as well.
即係道神跟人信，
Why did this royal official believe?
即係道神家己本身 personal 個人經驗有上帝恩典，
Because this royal official himself personally experienced the Lord's grace.
所以伊信，
That is why he
即
believed.
係叫 personal experience。
This is what we call personal experience.
你笑些，你笑些。
Now think about this
當
carefully.
這個人嚟謝耶穌嘅時
When
陣，
this person came to see Jesus,
其實都有人嘅 misconceptions about
actually he had
Jesus。
2 misconceptions when he came to see Jesus.
47節。
Verse 47.
伊睇到耶穌對猶大到加利利，伊就嚟咯，伊叫耶穌落去伊哋伊家，因為伊家特別死咯。
When this man heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son, who was close to death.
即係有人嘅 misconception about Jesus。
There are 2 misconceptions about Jesus here.
Number one.
Number 1.
你講耶穌，你需要落去伊哋嗰個家，
Jesus must go down in order to heal his son.
什麼意思呢？
What does it mean?
耶穌你若冇去，
If Jesus, you don't go,
我嘅家就袂好。
my son will not
即
get well.
即係冇奇怪。
Well, nothing strange about that.
我若破病，
When I am sick,
我需要去睇醫生。
I need to see a doctor.
我若破病真嚴重，
If I'm seriously ill,
我需要請醫生去我嘅厝內。
I need to ask a doctor to come to
因為
my home.
醫生病人若冇殺到，
Because if the doctor and the patient don't meet,
即有可能醫好關呢？
how is it possible for the doctor to heal me?
西醫是安尼，
And that is what it is with Western medicine.
中醫咪是安尼。
Chinese medicine is also the same.
中醫有4個 step，
Chinese medicine, there are 4 steps.
叫做望聞問切。
That is observe, listen, ask, and examine.
這是中醫醫病人4個 step。
These are the 4 steps for Chinese medicine when they treat the patient.
看賣看賣，
They observe first.
一啦傳出來，
Show me your tongue.
問看賣，什麼賣頭聽無？
Listen, you hear, you
Doctor
ask some
Tiago.
questions. Do you have any pains, any aches?
自然個，
Very
這是
natural.
醫生及病人，兩個人嘅叫做 interact to each other。
This patient and the doctor has to interact.
所以這個 royal official 有這個觀念。
And this royal official had this concept.
耶穌來，
Jesus, come,
趕
please.
緊叫我出來，
Come to my home
推我嘅驚祈
quickly
禱，
and pray for my son.
最好是按手祈禱，
And the best is to lay your hands on my son,
咁是？
right? And
你
pray for
咪
him.
成呢？
You do
牧
the same
師
thing,
嚟
right?
嚟咯，牧師嚟，趕緊嚟，趕緊
Pastor,
嚟，
please come.
跟嚟嚟啊！
Why?
按手，
Lay your hands on me.
我咪即係冇按手嘅。
And because it is, you don't want
這
to
是
go without laying
這是
hands.
呢個 conception
Because this
misconception。
is our misconception.
第二呢，
Second,
你講耶穌趕緊嚟，何況係驚未死整就嚟，
Jesus, come quickly so that before my son dies.
什麼意思啊？
What does this mean?
嗱，死了就唔免嚟咯
Because if my son dies, you don't have to come anymore, right?
，too late。
It's going to be too late.
所以趕緊，
So come quickly.
這個人啊，
Now this person,
佢將耶穌放喺一個 box 嘅裏面，
he put Jesus in a box.
呢個觀念裏面，
In his concept,
啲裏面最近
Jesus only works within the box.
離開這個所在，
Apart from that box,
耶穌無法咯。
Jesus isn't able to work anymore.
這個唔是戰罪教會領袖嘅問題，
Isn't this the problem with a lot of church
有
leaders?
人頭殼是戰爭問題 square。
There are some people whose minds are very square.
We limit the power of Jesus。
We are limiting the powers of Jesus.
耶穌嗱冇安尼就未通裝大字。
And if Jesus isn't able to do this or do that, then Jesus isn't able to work.
咱睇到一個新嘅觀念，
We hear of a new concept
咱就 say no。
and we immediately say no.
為什麼
Why?
？We limit the power of Jesus。
We are limiting the powers of Jesus.
我做牧師啊，
I am pastor.
所以我嚟當工
There are some co-workers
都是安尼，
who are like that.
睇這個新嘅，
You give him something new
伊就是起來反對，
and they would immediately oppose it.
一生會經歷上帝新嘅恩典。
All their lives, they will never be able to experience the new blessing of
耶
God.
穌要改變這個人，
God was going to change this
冇俾
person,
落去。
and he didn't want to go.
啲耶穌啲對照裏面，
When Jesus was still on earth,
行了真濟成力，
he performed a lot of
有
miracles.
一個係成力，
There are some miracles
叫做遙遠醫治，
which are like healing from distance or remote
叫
healing.
做 remove，而且 remove control，remove healing。
It's like a remote control, remote healing.
耶穌本身唔免去。
Jesus need not go himself.
Matthew chapter 8，
Matthew chapter 8,
有一個百夫丟嘅僕人破壁，
there was a centurion servant who was sick.
伊嚟找耶穌，
And the centurion came to see
這
Jesus.
個都係相反。
This was the opposite.
耶
This
穌
is actually an
講：
opposite.
我要去。
Jesus said, okay, I'll
啊，
go
這
with
個
you.
這個傳主人講：耶穌你唔免去，
But centurion said, Jesus, you don't have to go.
你干啊？
Why?
你講一句話，我嘅僕人就好咯。
Just say the word and my servant will
哦，
be
耶穌講
well.：
哇靠，這個人是真很多。
And Jesus was surprised, saying that how great is the faith of this
所以
person.
耶穌冇去。
And so Jesus did not go.
耶穌講：我來講 good，冇
And
去。
later on, Jesus told him, good, you may go home.
第二呢 Matthew
Second.
chapter 15，
In Matthew chapter
有
15,
一個迦南嘅婦人嚟找耶穌，
there was a Canaanite woman who came to see
佢講
Jesus,
伊十個叫好鬼婦啊！
saying that his daughter was possessed by an evil
上
spirit.
帝啊，叫你醫治我嘅十個囝。
God, please heal my daughter.
耶穌就嘅 testing，特別講解最會。
And Jesus spoke some words with her, tested her
結果
faith.
pass 嘅 test 以後，
After she passed the test,
耶穌講：你到去，你十個囝好咯。
Jesus said, you may go, your daughter is
耶
well.
穌冇去，
Jesus did not go.
這是第三擺。
This was the third time.
耶穌咁就 royal official 講：
And then the third time, Jesus said to the royal
Doki,
official,
doki.
go,
你嘅囝好咯。
your son will leave.
感謝上帝，
We thank God.
叫主幫助咱，
May God help
我
us.
哋冇 start 有當 personal experience the healing of Jesus, the power of Jesus。
May we personally experience the healing, the power of Jesus.
第二關係信心看
The
到，
second kind of faith
是全家都信，
is the royal official whole household believing.
包括伊嘅囝、
And that includes his
伊嘅
children,
親手，
his wife,
兼且伊嘅僕人，
perhaps his servants.
咁啊信呢？
Why did they believe?
你小看咪啊？
Now think about this.
無人知啊，這個囝咁啊忽然間好起來，
No one knew the reason why the son suddenly recovered.
忽然間這個囝好起來嘅時陣，
When this son suddenly got well.
你小看咪？
Think about this.
這個這個人真係笑，
What would be the mindset of the members of this
你
household.
在心未想未晓得耶穌醫好這個囝，
They
在
will
心未。
surely not attribute it to Jesus healing the son.
呢個人相信什麼
Perhaps what would they believe? What would they,
miracles。
they would believe miracles,
Hey.
miracles.
你記得咯？
Now remember,
這個家庭唔是信耶穌呀，
now this household wasn't a
這
believer
個
in
家庭是
Jesus.
拜偶像的喲，
This household actually
是
worshipped
拜別的
idols.
神的
They
喲。
worshipped other gods.
伊可能將榮耀歸給伊所信的神。
Perhaps they gave the glory to the gods
哎呀，
that
咱
they
的
had believed
神
in.
好難好起來
Oh,
咯。
our gods allowed this son to live
直到這個老爸到嚟，
until the father came home
佢解釋這幾個故事嘅代
and
志。
explained the story to them.
唔是啊，
No, he
是
said,
耶穌醫好我的
it
囝，
is Jesus who healed my son
因為這個信仰，
because of
因
this
為這個
faith,
故事，
because of this story.
這個人信了耶穌。
Everyone put their trust in the Lord.
兄弟姊妹，
Brothers and
你
sisters,
需要將你生命中間耶穌嘅故事跟別人分享，
you need to tell your own story to others
好人親像你
so that others may be like you,
明白耶穌。
coming to know
這個
Jesus.
老爸
This father,
將這個故事講出去以後，
after he related the story,
全家就信
the。whole household believed.
耶穌一擺醫好這個人，
There was one time when Jesus
Oh.
healed a person.
這個人有能強節的鬼附的身軀嚟，
This person actually was possessed by 2,000 evil spirits
耶
in
穌
him.
當中掛出去以
And
後，
after Jesus drove them out,
這個人講：耶穌，我不跟爹你。
and this person said, Jesus, I want to follow you.
耶穌講：man，
Jesus said, No,
你到佢出嚟，
you go home
可能知呀，上帝為了做人何等大嘅大事。
and tell your family, tell the people how much God has done for you.
這個聖經講什麼呢？
And what does the Bible say?
這個人唔係是到佢家己出嚟，
That this person not only went back to his own home,
而去集嘅 city，
he
ten
went to the 10
cities
cities, the
嚟傳
Decapolis,
揚耶穌嘅故事。
to share about the story of Jesus.
叫小房真人
May God help us.
將你嘅故事傳出去，
Tell your story to others
可能親像你，
so that people may be like you,
明白了上帝嘅救恩。
knowing the salvation
頭
of
這個
our
善
God.
略是最變最少，
The first miracle was water being turned
這
to
個
wine.
善略可能知呀，主要所有支配超越時間嘅能力。
And in this miracle, we see that the Lord has supremacy, transcendence over the element of time.
水唔是酒，酒唔是水，
Water is not wine, wine is not water.
酒是葡萄酒，
And wine is it comes from grape
葡
juice
萄酒就嚟。
or grape wine. And then how does grape wine come about?
Number one 需要有
Number
葡
one,
萄，
you need to have grapes.
葡萄需要榨取葡萄汁，
And then you turn the grapes into grape juice.
葡萄汁需要第一段嘅時間，第咗6個月以後榨取葡萄酒。
And grape juice has to be fermented for a period of at least 6 months for it to be turned into wine.
佢明一個時間，
And it requires a period of time.
但係耶穌一句話
But with
One
one
word.
word of Jesus,
將水踢出嚟，
took out the water,
水就變做酒，
and the water turned into wine.
超越了這個時間嘅需要。
And it transcended the element of time.
耶穌醫好這個大神嘅囝，
And Jesus healed the royal official's son.
就支配超越空間嘅規律。
The Lord has supremacy, transcendence over the element of space.
30里以外嘅所在，
30-kilometer distance.
因為一句話，
Because of one word,
這個人就好了。
this person became well.
這兩個成立合起嚟，
When we combine these two miracles,
咱係上帝是掌管時間和空間嘅上帝。
we see that our God is a God who is sovereign over time and space.
什麼叫做時間？什麼叫做空間？
What is time and what is space?
咱你們嗰個 universe 叫做宇宙。
English, we have what we call the universe.
什麼叫做宇宙？
What is the universe?
向西方向上為之宇，古往今來為之宙。
Four directions, that is space, and through the ages, that is time.
什麼叫宇宙？
What is the universe then?
時間、空間合起來叫做宇宙。
When we combine time and space, that is the universe.
咱的上帝是宇宙的上帝，
Our God is a God of the universe.
咱的上帝是創造時間、空間的上帝，
Our God is a God who created time and space.
咱的上帝是 the creator of the universe。
Our God is the creator of the universe.
上帝啦，掌管你的時間，掌管你的空間。
And if God is in control of your time and your space,
請問
let me ask you,
你都驚什麼？
what are you afraid of?
有什麼驚等候你驚
Is there anything that will make you fearful?
？Nothing.
Nothing.
Let's pray.
Let's pray. 親愛天父，阮的上帝，多謝你今仔早起實在帶來給阮一個真正好的信息。我一擺佇遮來，給阮明白，阮的上帝是掌管空間時間的上帝。阮的上帝是超越一切、超越萬物的上帝。伊是萬王的王、萬主的主。但願天父，阮的信心實在會通建立喺上帝的話語內面，唔是單單建立喺信約內面，甚至阮的信心、阮的信仰應該就建立喺上帝的本身，建立喺上帝的話語。但願天父，阮的每一個人的信心會通伫遐來成做一個真正真實的信仰、真實的信心。主啊，通互阮實在，阮的信心。實在有帶着行動的一款的信心，帶來上帝你的喜悅，互阮佇生命中也通經歷到上帝你的大能，上帝你的能力。阮安尼祈禱感恩，是奉主耶穌基督的聖尊名。阿門。